For Stadio, a qualification isn't just a qualification. It's more students inspired to reimagine their possibilities. With 5 faculties, 10 campuses and over 50 accredited qualifications, undergraduate and postgraduate studies, contact, distance and blended learning, we're transforming higher education into something that's truly multi-faculty, multi-campus and multi-mode. Stadio, a new vision in higher education.
But we've visited 2 rugby academies already, but to judge them and to be fair, we need to first stipulate what is a rugby academy. So according to you, what is a rugby academy?
Carl, I think, and we've had many discussions about this, obviously SARU has put together a set list of criteria whereby they evaluated academies over past years. I'm not 100% sure whether that program is being enforced at the moment and the guidelines are being enforced. I don't think so, not as it runs at the moment. But being it as it may, I think at the time with someone like Hans Kriebel that was in charge of the program, did good work in the sense of classifying academies because they wanted to get all the different union academies in line and also various other academies that sort of originated at the time. And I mean, we reasoned about the SARU criteria. Sometimes it's difficult because is every academy really meant to be in line with SARU's criteria? I think that is the big question. And looking at what any academy wants to do and what their goals are, is evidently to get a player to either play for a union or become a Springbok or just become the best possible rugby player that he can. And for him to do that, he's got to play rugby. So not only being coached, but also eventually play rugby somewhere. Where do you play rugby? You play rugby in rugby structures. So, which means you are either entered into a club system through the academy, a team from the academy, or you are entered into a club that is that the academy is affiliated to. And that actually draws the line. And what I mean by that is, if you go into a club, any club which forms part of the provincial and or national club structures, then the responsibility falls within the range of the union that the club is part of, which implies that it falls under SARU. So the short and the long of this is that I think that SARU's criteria is still very valid. It might be adjusted slightly for certain institutions. And if we look at the SARU criteria that was compiled at the time, Hans Kriebel, well, I'm saying Hans and his committee at the time, compiled the criteria to cover 2 areas, so-called Category A and Category B academies. And the Category A academy was meant for provincial academies, where you would find a union or a franchise that is directly linked to an academy like the Sharks Academy, for example, and or the junior system. At the union might also then classify as an academy or high performance system. And then you look at your regional and or club academies, which basically falls into a B category that would more be in line with your club system falling under the unions than your professional academy, of which in my mind or in our mind at the moment there's only one true professional academy at the top, national academy, and that is SARU's National Academy, which is the only one of its sort. And then, from what I understand, the Sharks Academy is probably the only existing provincial academy falling in that category. Although there might be other ones vying for that spot, I think the rest of them would all then fall into this B category of regional and club academies.
But to sum it up in short, the SARU structures or the SARU guidelines, firstly, it's rugby, coaching of rugby, understanding rugby. Secondly, it's quotas. So they will want to see that a club forces themselves to certain quota targets. And the fourth one is academical academy. So the kids must have opportunity to study further. Comments from all the academies, it's not our work to make provision for black players that can't afford, because obviously they're profit driven. And the last one, yeah, the academical side of the thing, personally I think it's a waste of time. We've visited two, and yeah, I would rather see the parents see this first year or under 19 at a rugby academy as a gap year. We went to the army and everything, that was our gap year. So, but that's basically, that's the three criteria that will differentiate the academies. And we're going to stick to SARU structures, and when we publish the outcome of an academy, we will set out what points and what, and then the parents can decide by themselves. What do they want? Do they want their kids an opportunity to go and play rugby? Do they want him to go and study first and then play rugby? So then the parents got an open mind, and they can see what we think of the certain aspects at the academy.
Yeah, Carl, I agree fully with you. I think the big thing here is where we've drawn the line is that you've got to be in line with SARU structures. That's a given. You cannot move away from that. And why we say that is there's been a lot of discussion and comments regarding why do we have to comply? Why do we have to comply to a union? There's been comments from unions making the same statements that these are private initiatives. We are not supposed to have them comply with any of our structures, and we've basically spent a couple of weeks to assess the situation, and I totally disagree with anyone saying that there's no compliance. There must be compliance based on the fact that you are providing rugby opportunities to players that actually move into SARU structures thereafter. Or at the same time, you provide them opportunities at a club. The academies are, most of them, as far as I know, all of them are linked with a club, or they provide a team to a club structure, and therefore it's a given. You fall under SARU's broader guidelines through the provincial structures, and therefore we believe that the guidelines given by SARU are very good guidelines that we can adhere to. There might be slight differences for, let's call it, smaller high performance and or skills institutions that don't focus on numbers or even on-site sleep facilities, etc., etc. That might be a so-called C category. But the fact of the matter is, when you coach players, you need to be qualified as a coach. You need to be able to work with kids. And that's our big issue. This is where everything started for us, was what kind of guidance are given to the boys and the parents that are desperate for rugby opportunities. That guidance must be in line with the total plan that SARU and Department of Basic Education has for our kids. That's as easy as that. and therefore it needs to fall under an umbrella, and all of these institutions needs to be compliant, and they need to be looked at and scrutinized from the viewpoint of unions and SARU, therefore. So we will base our criteria on that, and gladly look at it. I honestly believe that all of these academies and institutions, or whatever they call them, really are in it for a good reason. It's not that we don't see this. It's got to work financially. You're 100% right. It's got to work as a business model. But it cannot only be a business model. It cannot only be about numbers. If you're really selling a dream, or you're selling an opportunity to kids that they might become a better rugby player, and therefore that is where we feel we would like to guide parents, where they are supposed, in conjunction with their kids, to make good decisions. Which one is the best for me? Some of them focus a little bit more on academic matters to make sure that the kids get academic exposure. Some of them focus more on rugby. Our idea is just to give you a good viewpoint of where they lie and which one you decide to take your kid to.
So it's simple. When we discuss the academies, we'll do an interview with the academy. Me and Bart will do a 5-minute snippet on how we feel where the academy fits into the whole structure, and our feeling about the academy. But the parents must still read the articles, see where we fail them, and then determine if it's important for you or it's not important where we fail them, and then you make your own decision. We can't make the decision for the parents. We just want to give you an educated opportunity to make your decision. Thank you, Bart.
Thanks, Carl.